My youngest sister just had a baby, and our mom came to help. My sister and her husband live in a tiny apartment with no room for my mom. I agreed to let her stay with me since I live only 8 blocks away. It's walkable. I plan to Uber her over in the morning and pick her up after work. I only eat 1 meal a day during the week, supper. I have coffee for breakfast and some fruit for lunch. On Saturday, I treat myself to a good breakfast. On Sundays, I take the woman I'm dating for brunch. My mother decided that this was unacceptable. She got up early and went through my fridge and freezer to make me breakfast. I told her I appreciated it, but didn't usually eat breakfast. She said that was stupid. I clearly told her that she was welcome to eat anything in my home, but to please not make me breakfast, as it was a waste. She made me breakfast the following day. I walked out without eating it. I figured in the worst case scenario, I could eat it for supper. She threw it out since I didn't eat it. I told her once more to please not waste my food. She made breakfast for me the next day. I asked her if she was developing dementia. She's wasting my food for no good reason. I'm not poor or anything, but wasting food is a pet peeve of mine. She said I was being ungrateful for her help, and she was doing it to be nice, since I was letting her stay with me. I explained to her again that I did not need, want, require, or desire breakfast during the week. She said she understood. She made me breakfast the next day. I had had enough. I took her luggage with me when I dropped her off at my sister's home. I told my doorman that my guest was no longer welcome. I got so many messages from her and my sister all day long. Even my dad called me to ask me to change my mind. I said no. He had to drive up and rent an Airbnb close to my sister because my mom was too scared to stay alone. He's retired, so he didn't miss any work or anything. My sister came over alone to talk to me. She said I was being a complete idiot and that I could afford the menu my mom was wasting. I said I could, but I didn't want to. She literally used up 2 months' worth of my food. She made up huge breakfasts that I didn't even eat. I keep all my bacon in individual servings. She thought out 3 for every breakfast, 1 for her and 2 for me, and I ate 0. My father's asked me to let her back in. I said I would do so under the condition that she understand that my food is entirely off limits to her. She can pay for her own food. I said I would make room in the fridge and freezer for her. She said I was being ridiculous and petty. So my dad is staying neutral, but my mom and sister think I'm an idiot. My girlfriend thinks the whole thing is hilarious and refuses to get involved. So, am I the idiot for kicking my mom out over breakfast? Not the idiot. It sounds more like your mother was initiating a power play and that she would have continued wasting your food, which she knew bothered you. But that was the point, until you capitulated. Then she would have won. You throwing her out was inconvenient, so you had to be the bad guy. But that wouldn't have been necessary if your mother had been reasonable. People tend to take the easier route, and asking a reasonable person to capitulate is much easier than asking an unreasonable person to be reasonable. I'm pretty sure that the rest of the family bends to this behavior of hers, just not to have the drama she goes into. Entirely too common. Now she can sort out her living situation herself, since she clearly doesn't care to show some respect to you when you've kindly let her stay with you and already tried to explain your issues, which she refused to listen to. The dementia comment was gold, by the way. What would they say if you brought her a nice gentleman to date when you visited her house? She doesn't need one, or probably even want one. But you've decided that she doesn't get to decide for herself, so you'll keep doing it. Maybe you should find a nice girl for your father, too. Of course, that would be ridiculous. So's your mother. She's boundary stomping. And your girlfriend is one smart lady, amused and smart enough to say, "It's not my circus." So this has been eating at me for a while, and I really need some outside perspective. My sister, 32, and I, 30 female, have had a rocky relationship for years. Still, things really came to a head recently over something that might seem trivial to some, a wedding dress. Backstory: when I was 22, I got married for the first time. Young, I know. I had this beautiful custom-made wedding dress that was my dream in every way. 2 days before the wedding, my sister, who was going through a rough patch, breakup, job loss, accidentally spilled red wine all over it while intoxicated. The dress was ruined beyond repair, and I was heartbroken. We had a huge fight, and I ended up wearing a last-minute replacement that I've always despised. Our relationship never fully recovered, and my marriage ended 2 years later for unrelated reasons. Fast forward to now, I'm engaged again and planning my wedding. My sister, who's also engaged, approached me to ask if she could borrow my new dress for her wedding. She said she's on a tight budget and can't afford a dream dress. I've invested a lot of money into my new dress, ensuring it's everything I wanted the first time. It's another custom piece, and I've been looking forward to wearing it for months. All the old feelings resurfaced when she asked me, and I told her no. I explained that her past actions and the lack of trust between us made it impossible for me to lend her something so important to me. She got incredibly upset, calling me selfish and bringing up how we should be family and support each other. Our parents and some mutual friends think I'm being too harsh and should let bygones be bygones. They're saying I'm the idiot for not helping her on her special day, especially since she apologized for the past, though I always felt her apologies were more about getting past the consequences than genuine remorse. So, am I the idiot for refusing to lend my sister my wedding dress after what happened years ago? For heaven's sake, of course you're not the idiot. This is your dress, and there's nothing selfish about not sharing it. The people who think you're selfish can chip in for a dress for your sister if they're so adamant about it. And please make sure your dress is locked up somewhere safe so she doesn't have another accident that destroys yet another dress of yours. If she's on a tight budget, she needs to find a dress within that budget or postpone the wedding until she can afford her dream dress. What happened to the crappy replacement dress after she destroyed the wedding dress number 1? I wish you still had the wine-soaked dress to lend to her. She can have that. LOL. It's your wedding dress. Custom gowns have a lot of money invested in them. Your sister needs to find a dress of her own in her budget. The fact she's asking to use your dress now gives vibes she didn't accidentally spill the wine on the dress for your first wedding years ago. I think we all know that there was nothing accidental when she spilled the wine all those years ago. She did it because she was jealous of you, and no one would blame you for not trusting her with your new dress. And the fact she wants to wear your custom, special wedding dress first, before you? I would maybe understand if she asked for it after you wore it for your wedding, but this is absurd. She's a mooch and would have found a way to ruin the dress conveniently after it looked nice all day for her pictures and event. I'm so sorry, OP. Your family is toxic. My sister gave birth to my nephew in January, and she gave him a name that I dislike, which is Philip. The two of us have always been so close, and we always swore we would be honest with each other when asked. This has always been our relationship. We feel it keeps us close and stops hard feelings, because if we don't want to hear something, we just don't ask. There has never been a time I didn't want her honesty, so I'll ask her anything, looking for an honest answer. My sister is a little more sensitive. There's nothing wrong with that, but I get her not asking everything if she feels it would hurt her feelings. She asked me what I thought of the name, because according to her, I was the only one who didn't comment about loving the name. And I'm not saying every single person she meets compliments the name, just those in her and her husband's circle did. So 2 weeks after my nephew was born, she asked me if I didn't like his name. She said my reaction was very muted and it made her wonder. So I was honest and told her I didn't like the name, but reassured her I'd love my nephew very much. She asked some more questions, which I answered honestly, and I was even open about names I would use for my future child when asked. My sister joked that finding a topic we were so opposite on, our taste in names, was weird, but she was glad that we had talked. I didn't think anything more of it. Then a week and a half ago, my sister's husband made a sarcastic remark that he was surprised I would spend money on such a nice gift for my nephew. I ordered a custom blanket for him that has his name on it when I don't even like the name. My sister told him to stop and apologized to me for his reaction. He grumbled and she grumbled back at him. Then he got me alone and told me I had made my sister cry when I told her I disliked my nephew's name. He asked me how I would like it if she said that to me, and I told him I would expect her to be honest if she did dislike the name that I picked for my future kids. And I asked her the question. I said, we don't lie to each other, and it's been that way since we were kids. He said he had no idea what kind of name I would like if I disliked Philip and if I disliked the middle name too. But it takes a special kind of crappy person to tell a new parent they dislike the name they chose for their kid. And he said I broke my sister's heart, which should make me so ashamed. I spoke to my sister after that and apologized for upsetting her. She wanted to know where I learned it, but answered herself before she finished the question. She apologized to me and admitted she was upset, but should have known better than to ask the question, and that I didn't go out of my way to give feedback on the name, and she knows herself better than that. She apologized to her husband again and told me not to listen. But then her husband contacted again and told me my sister was trying to spare my feelings. So, am I the idiot? Geez, why does brother-in-law keep bringing this up? What exactly does he want you to do? Since you've already given your sister your opinion, and if you try to take it back now, she'll know you're not being truthful. What outcome does he want? He's deliberately stirring the pot. Your sister's not upset with you, but her husband seems determined to cause problems. Brother-in-law's feelings are hurt by you not liking the name, so he also wants to hurt you by telling you that your sister's feelings are hurt. It sounds like you're respecting the name. Getting a blanket with the name on it is a nice gesture, and you and your sister are good. So ignore brother-in-law. You're not the idiot. Neither is your sister. This is one of those awkward family moments that a bit of love and grace can help heal. As long as brother-in-law stops picking at the scab. I disagree. You are the idiot. Yeah, honesty's good, but it's not always necessary. The kid already has that name. It does literally no good for you to tell her you don't like it. You could have just lied and said it's a nice name, and nobody would get their feelings hurt. Philip isn't even a weird name. There's no reason to express a dislike for it, especially since this wasn't a baby name discussion pre-birth. It is his permanent name now. In the future, consider the emotional impact of your honesty, especially on significant personal matters. My sister named my nephew Skylar. She's always called him Skylar and told everybody she knew he would not be Sky, that Sky's a girl's name and not even a good girl's name. Well, once my nephew started school, he started calling himself Sky, and all his friends and even his teachers call him Sky. My sister was agitated but expected him to grow out of it. She vented a lot about him going by Sky and how she couldn't understand Sky being such a popular nickname for a boy. My brother pointed out his name is Skylar, and Sky's the most common nickname for it, with Kyler being possible but not really any better. My nephew's now a young teen, and he asked his family to call him Sky as well. We respect what he wants and call him Sky. He told me he wanted to ask when he was 5, but he knew his mom would have a fit. But he no longer cares that she hates Sky. I think it's great he's doing what makes him happy. My sister's now freaking out that everyone calls him Sky except for her. Even her husband, Sky's dad, calls him Sky. She's tried to fight against Sky using Sky. She told him his name was Skylar, and he should call himself that because it would be confusing for people. She told him shortening his name isn't a must. Then she told him she forbids him from introducing himself by the nickname. He told her Sky is more his name than Skylar is by now, and she needs to deal with it. She ranted and raved about the disrespect and how we should have listened to her. I told my sister she can't control the name her son introduces himself as, especially a name that is a common short version of his full name. I told her she was only going to make him resent her if she continued. She told me to mind my own business, and of course she has the right. She's his mother. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your sister is controlling and seems very unhinged about this. She has absolutely no right to tell her son what to call himself and what version of his own name he introduces himself with. This is the kind of behavior that makes people go low or no contact later in life. How do you rant and rave about something so inconsequential? In the grand scheme of things, does this actually matter? Like, this kid is getting fed, a roof over his head, presumably going to school. Is it worth getting so worked up that your son's going by a shortened name? Sometimes I want to smack parents upside the head to get them to see that it's not disrespectful to call a child by the name they prefer. This mother has issues. Your sister is fighting a losing battle. The only question is how much damage she inflicts before she gives it up. My guess is that she has some gender-related hang-ups, and the idea of her son having a girl nickname is what's driving her so nuts. Of course, by naming a boy with the apparent nickname being feminine, to her, she just set herself up for this conflict. For context, I, 21 female, live with my older brother, 31, who lives near the university I attend. We were always close despite our age gap. He sadly lost his wife 5 years ago in a car accident. They had 3 kids, a male tween, a younger female tween, and a young male grammar schooler. Since then, my brother has thrown himself into his work, and part of the reason I wanted to live with him was to help out with my nephews and niece, who, due to our ages, are more like younger siblings to me. My brother has never shown any interest in dating again. He's told our family many times that he doesn't plan on remarrying or moving in, especially to our mom, who's always trying to set him up with some friend's daughter or another. She's been visiting us for a few weeks now. When my brother came home from work last night, we sat around for a bit after the kids went to sleep. My mom started with her usual asking if there was anyone new in his life, which there wasn't, and then moved on to the, "I know you still miss her, but it's been so many years. Your poor kids are so sad because they don't have a mother. Don't you think that you should do something about that?" Anjali's daughter just got her blah, 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 and she went on for a bit. It was very uncomfortable, and I could see my brother didn't want to have this conversation again. He got up and excused himself. She turned and asked me what was wrong with him. I told her that she needed to stop acting like such an overbearing harpy and that this is why he hadn't moved back home, and she needs to stop pushing this on him. She yelled at me for not thinking of my niece and nephews and wanting him to die alone. I said that at least I was thinking about his feelings and not a new wedding to plan. She went upstairs upset, and later my dad also called. I guess she told him what happened, and he said that I was very disrespectful, that my mother was just trying to look out for my brother, and that I should have just stayed out of it, that she was really hurt. Now I feel bad because I know she means well. My words may have been unnecessarily harsh, but I don't know. Living with my brother, I've seen just how much he misses and loves my late sister-in-law, and my mother's insistence just seems cruel. My brother tells me how this bothers him, but he's given up trying to tell our mom. Am I the idiot for telling her, or should I have minded my own business? Not the idiot. Your mother needs to let a 31-year-old grown-up live his own life and make his own decisions. He will move on when he wants to, if ever. Her pushing him makes him dig in more. Any man should understand this. I would talk to your father. Ask him if he believes that this is helping his eldest son, because from your perspective, she's just making things worse. Ask him what he thinks, not what his wife thinks. Keep an eye on mom. She may be trying to convince the children that they need a new mom to pressure the son into dating again. This isn't the 1920s. He doesn't need a new wife to care for his kids. He can do it alone. Also, OP, you're a fantastic aunt and sister for stepping up and helping him. Honestly, no matter how you said it, she wouldn't have liked what you said. Maybe this will be the kick in the pants that she needs to stop harassing your brother. Fingers crossed. Yeah, your mother's a complete harpy. She needed to be told. Your dad told you to stay out of it, but your mom dragged you in by asking your opinion. You had every right to give that opinion, and you should also tell your mom and your dad that you know more about what your brother needs than they do because you're there. Right now, the kids need love in the family, not tension, because grandma can't quit fighting with their dad and aunt.